Welcome to Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2016 and our series on extensions, the new way in which you can extend Dynamics NAV and package and distribute those extensions to your customers. My name is Kevin Racer. I'm a principal program manager on the SMB team. Today we will be talking about creating an extension package. A little background first. And getting started, first of all, the prerequisites. You're going to need NAV 2016 developer environment, and that includes, of course, the development shell, because that's where the commandlets are that create the package. And you'll also want to set up a directory structure for those text files and for the files that you're going to be using to make the extension. And I'll walk through that structure just a little bit here. But overall process is really this. The NAV extensions are based on the premise of a Delta file. So the Delta file is compiled, but then executed during runtime for a specific extension and a tenant in a multi-tenant environment. So you need to start off at first with just a base core set of code from NAV. So this is basically the code you get with on the distribution media on the DVD or the download. And then you will modify that using the C side or the NAV development environment itself. So alter the properties, add new pages, tables, add some eventing, what have you, to get the extension that you want. At that point, then you use the application merge utilities to do a compare and create those Delta files. Then you'll use a series of commandlets to build the actual package, the .navx or the navx package that becomes that extension that you can then distribute. So we're going to walk through all of those steps really and talk about them in a little bit more detail, and I'll show you what that looks like. But I also want to talk a little bit about the commandlets and themselves. The standard commandlets that come with the application merge utilities using export nav application object and compare nav application object are the ones you're going to be using to not only export out the base set of files, but also the modified ones, and then you're using the compare to actually create those Delta files that you'll package up and put into the extension package. All right, now we also have two new commandlets, new nav app manifest and new nav app package. One creates the manifest, which really talks about what the extension does, what's contained in it, what its name is, its versions, publisher, etc. And then the other one actually creates that .navx package. So we'll walk through all those commandlets as well. Lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about the manifest. It's an XML file. It describes what the extension does. So it has both an ID, a name, a version. It also contains any kind of prerequisites you may need. Those prerequisites are really a listing of the objects that need to be within the base application or the destination NAV instance. So for instance, if you had an ISV vertical that you're building on or extending on, you're going to need to have some of those objects present in that installation before you can install the extension itself. We also list the dependencies. So in case you're extending another extension, you can list that and the name of that extension as a dependency, so you'll need to have that installed before you install your extension. And then lastly, we also have a list of capabilities that the packaging commandlet will actually put into the package. All right, so let's go take a look at my environment here. And I mentioned that we need to have, first of all, just a kind of a base structure of folders to help us build the package. And what I have here is I have my rewards application that I've created and I'm creating. And within this, I have a rewards directory. And then within that directory, I have three other directories, one to hold my original objects, so my base, if you will, one to hold the modified objects, the objects that I'm changing and altering properties to, as well as any new objects I may have added. And then lastly, the Delta objects directory, which is what we're going to use to create our actual package. Delta objects gets filled in by those compare nav application object commandlet. So I've got my directory structure set up. First thing I'm going to want to do, of course, is go ahead and create that base. So I will use the export nav application object commandlet to export all of my objects into a single base. So if I look at my original objects directory here, and I've already done this, so just to save us some time, but you'll see that I have all my code units, have all my pages, tables, etc., all the objects within my NAV database. They're already exported out. So I've got a good stable base or an already established base. Now I can go ahead and do my modifications. So if I look at what I've done with my rewards app, I'm going to open up the development environment here now. And if you take a look at just the object designer in and of itself, within my app, I've actually modified the customer table. I've added a table of my own. I have added a code unit, as well as modified the customer page and then added my own page into this application. So these are all of the objects that I've actually changed, modified, or added to my system. Now, looking back at the PowerShell, what I will do is I'll export, use again that export nav application object commandlet. I'll dump out all of those object files back to my directory. So I've already done that as well. So if you look at my modified objects, again, I've got the same dumping of all of the objects within my database. So now I have two sets of directories ready to go ahead. So now I'm actually really ready to start packaging and creating my extension package. So one of the first things I'm going to want to do is run this commandlet right here to go ahead and compare the base or my original objects to the modified objects to actually arrive at what I'm calling the delta. So if you look at this commandlet here, it just basically takes that original path. So I'm pointing to my original objects directory here. We can look at that simultaneously, my original objects, and I'm pointing to my modified objects right here, modified path, and then lastly my delta path. Where do I want to have my deltas? Now, in the interest of time, again, because there's a lot of files, this takes a while, I've already gone ahead and done that. So I'm not going to execute this commandlet right now, but we can take a look at the output of that from the commandlet itself, and you can see that within my delta objects, all the things that I showed you in the development environment, my code unit, my page, my customer page modification, my own new page, the customer table modification, as well as my own table for my rewards app, are all contained within the deltas. Now, by that process of using the compare nav application object commandlet. So now we've got our source files, our delta, as well as all of our new object files. So we're going to go ahead and create the actual extension package. And what you need to do before that, of course, is describe and create the manifest. The manifest needs to get created first, and then we'll use that manifest then to drive the creation of our actual package. So I'm going to copy the text here just to save you from watching me type this in. But the first thing we're going to need to do is create a new nav app manifest. Now, there are a lot of properties within the manifest, and we walk kind of through that, but of key importance to us is the name, the publisher, and the version. Those are requireds. So you can see here that I'm creating a new manifest. My name of the extension is Customer Rewards. The publisher is Microsoft, of course, and my version is 1.0.0.0. A word of caution with the 2016 release, you want to make sure that you fully populate this version string and don't just do a partial like 1.0. Put in all, not only the major, minor, build, etc. Put all four of those version segments in. It can cause you some problems later if you try to do something other than that. So make sure you fill it out. Even if it's 0, just put 0. All right, so we're creating the new nav app manifest. We're also piping this into the new nav app manifest file. So I want to actually save my manifest as an XML file so that I can refer to it later. And the reason you want to do this is that when you create a manifest, if you do not supply an ID for your extension, the commandlet will create a GUID for you. It will create that ID. That ID needs to stay consistent throughout all of the versions of your application. That's how we determine on the system that you're going from version 1 to version 2 in an upgrade scenario. And that's the way we uniquely identify that extension. So make sure that you always save that as a file before you continue and create your packages. Otherwise, you're going to lose that GUID, or you're going to have to try to copy it or manually enter it in. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this commandlet. It runs very quickly, but you'll see that when we go now out to my my directory here, I have the actual manifest file as an XML file created. We can actually even take a look at it here, and you'll see that now I have this ID value, this GUID. That's the unique number for my extension, as well as the name, publisher, and a version information also stamped into that. We don't have any capabilities, prerequisites, or anything like that in this app, so nothing's filled in. I didn't supply that in the commandlet, but I do now have my manifest file. The next thing I'm going to want to do is actually get that manifest file and then pipe it into the actual new nav app package, create the packaging commandlet. So the first thing I'll talk about is to get the get manifest commandlet. That in and of itself will just, if you run that, will dump out what we basically saw when we opened up the XML file. The ID, the name, publisher, version number, etc. So that can tell you that. That just gets that, the manifest file loads it up into memory. So I'm going to pipe this now, of course, into my packaging commandlet. So now under the new nav app package, so my new extension package, I need to provide a source path. Okay, where are my Delta files? Where are my source objects that are going to be part of this package? And then point also to where the actual .navx will be created. All right. So it's important though when you're naming your extension that you put that .navx on the back of it, pointing to where you want to save it. So what I've got now is a completed piped commandlet set that will grab my manifest and will create a new NavX package for me. If I go ahead and execute that, then you'll see what I end up here is my actual my NavX package, and now I'm complete. My extension has been developed, has been packaged, and is ready to distribute and install in another system. In another video segment, we talk about how you deploy this package to a destination NAV system. So with that, I'll thank you for your time and have a good day.